Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of Here we go. FOs. Hope you guys are all doing well. Today, my guest is Drew Borders. I've had the personal pleasure of knowing Drew for the last 2 years. We've been working on something together, an animated series. Drew is a great, amazing person. I think she's such a badass. She's an illustrator, an animator, a muralist, and she does murals kind of all around the South right now. She's been traveling around doing different murals, and they're great. They're colorful. They're beautiful. We're going to talk to her about that. We're going to talk to her about, animation, just being an artist, and her thoughts on UAPs, of course, because if you guys have been paying attention, a lot's been going on. My mind is kind of all jumbled, so forgive me if I'm kind of all over the place today. Forgive me, Drew, when Drew comes on. But cheers to you all. Grab a brew, whatever it is, tea, coffee, beer. I'm just like, again, my mind is kind of just like what is going on here? What is reality? Because of this new UAP hearing that just happened on July 26th. But yeah, let's get Drew on here. I'm stoked to just talk to her, hang out with her, and to introduce Drew to all of you. So let me send Drew an invite. And by the way, remember, all these episodes, I do a lot on Instagram Live, but they will be up on YouTube and more interactive after. So if me and Drew bring up something, they'll show a picture, there'll be links on there, all of that. So thank you for joining us here live on Instagram, but if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much. If you guys are subscribing, liking, whatever, I'm stoked. You don't have to do that, so thank you. All right. Yeah. Cool. Drew, are you there? Hey.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. That's
I got my drink ready.
Well, cheers. I got to remember to drink because
Gotcha.
I always cheers and then I always forget to drink. I did it for you, Drew. I got it. I got it this time.
There we go. Gotcha. I had to turn the audio up. I was like, wow, it's been a long time since I was on a live, so I don't quite remember how it works.
Can you bend it up a little so your head's kind of cut off? There we go. Just a little, yeah, right there. That looks perfect. Cool.
Perfect.
So real quick, like I already know you, but people that follow me probably, a lot of them don't know you. I gave you that little brief intro, but like, let's just let's just start off. Like, how did you get into art? How did you become like an artist?
Right. It's kind of interesting. Honestly, for me, it was always just a hobby that I did for fun and never really thought of it like a career. Hello, there's people joining.
Hi, everybody.
But yeah, my parents, we didn't really have like a lot of electronics growing up. I mean, we had a TV and I think like a DS and stuff like that, but we didn't really have anything else. Didn't even have cell phones until we turned 15. So there really wasn't much to do other than go outside and play, or stay inside and read or draw. So after school, we would get a snack, do our homework, and then when we finished, we would just get together and me and my siblings would draw together. So that was like really fun, very, very formative for me. I will be honest, I feel like part of my motivation to keep going was because I was trying to catch up to my older siblings because they were better than I was. So I was really just trying to be on their level. But then once we hit middle school, I think they kind of lost interest and got into other things like sports or my sister Erin, for instance, is really, really into books. So that was kind of what she put most of her focus in. But I just enjoyed art and I just kept doing it. And at a certain point, I realized like, okay, people have jobs like that make cartoons, that make animations, illustrations, and all of that. So I just knew I wanted to go to art school. I didn't know where at the time, but that was like my goal for a very long time.
I don't mean to cut you off, but like saying that was one of my questions. So I just wanted to like, so was there a point, no, it's perfect. Was there a point that clicked with you where you're like, oh, like, this is my passion now, but I should do this as a career. You know, is there like a specific point?
I think so. When I was really little, this is still one of my favorite movies today, but it's a 2D animated Disney movie called Atlantis, the Lost Empire.
So good.
That was my all-time favorite. I mean, I just loved that movie so much. I loved the characters, the design of the world. I just loved the idea. And it really made me think like, wow, I'm sitting here and I feel like I'm in another world. And I feel this way because someone sat there and took the time to make this. So it just made me think like, if I can get to that point, that means that I can also create that feeling in other kids who would watch my stuff. So that was definitely something that really pushed me to go for it.
Yeah. I think it's cool because you're there now. I mean, I know you're in your 20s and like, but you know, I'm going to be 40 this year, which is crazy. But like I look up to you because I think your art is so rad. What you're doing is so rad. You know, age doesn't matter. Like me being, you know, some 40-year-old dude that's looking at you being like, wow, she's badass. Like I can look up to you even though you're younger. And like, I think that it's so cool. And I think that people younger than you are already doing that. They're looking up, they're seeing what you're doing, especially around Atlanta, or you were at Nashville, and then you were where were you recently? Oklahoma or Kansas?
Yeah,
Oklahoma?
I was in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It's so great there. They have an awesome art community, which I was not expecting. But then again, I can't put expectations on a place I had never been to before. But I had a great time. Such a good time that I went there 3 times in total to basically do the same thing and continue to meet more people who are also into the arts.
Cool. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about, I know we were talking about animation. Again, I'm probably going to jump all over the place, but just doing murals. Like, I know that you did the Beltline in Atlanta, and that one's like one of my favorites that you did because it's generations, I think, of women in your family, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
And then like with goddess kind of like, or not goddess, like almost like Greek looking, like, that, am I kind of, that's the theme, kind of Greek and generation?
Yeah. So I titled it The Fates because it was based off of the mythology of the Fates, the Greek mythology, where it's these 3 women who, one represents a child, one represents a young woman, and the other represents an elderly woman. And together they kind of not really decide, but monitor the destinies of everyone, because everyone's destiny, according to the story, is already fixed. So they are they tell you what happens. It cannot be changed. They kind of have that final say, and they're the ones who cut the lifeline at the end when you're ready to pass. So the idea that I had was to merge this with a marginalized group, which would be Black women, to put them in such a position of power with undisputed authority, because we've never really had that before. So I thought that would be an interesting take on it. And along the sides of the bridge, I was working with Miranda Kyle, who's the curator of the Beltline, and the bridge already naturally had these separations on it with columns. So together we were thinking, well, we could play off the idea of Greek art on pottery, specifically from the Corinthian time period. So I began to tell the stories of women in my family, both of my grandmothers on either side of my family, because they were absolutely phenomenal women. I was super close with them, and I just felt like their story needed to be heard, especially because in my family, we do have a few accomplished members, but a lot of them tend to focus on the men, which is great. But I also wanted to make sure that the women also had a voice and that their stories weren't forgotten too.
That's awesome. I think, I mean, what's our civilization society, like men are still, you know, and then if you try to talk, for me, when I try to talk about it with some people that are against that or whatever, it's always like, oh, the men are awful narrative. Everyone's always like, oh, men are shit, women are great. Like, well, and it's like, name one woman president, my friend.
Right.
Name one woman pope.
Mm-hmm.
I'll wait. You know what I mean? So like what you're saying, it's yeah, we got a long fucking way to go, but you know, that's really cool. I think sorry again, I'm jumping, but I think they did a news segment on you with the Beltline, right? And they showed it all too. So I mean, you're doing that with your family too. You're saying you wanted people to know their story, like getting like a news clip about it or somebody posting it on Instagram or whatever. Now everyone's going to know about that story. So it's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the funny thing was when we were talking about this project, the Beltline has since then like switched up its submission guidelines. So now when you apply, it actually provides a space. So you know, like, oh, this is what the wall looks like. And this is what they would like to see, because they give you prompts as well. But when I applied, it was kind of, there was really none of that. It was just like, okay, whatever your idea is, then come up with a proposal for the size and scale that you want it at. So when I applied, I was only thinking about a wall that would be maybe 12 feet tall. And they called me to tell me like, okay, well, we have a bigger space for you. Like, you can go check it out if you want to. And they sent me the address. And when I drove up and found that it was a bridge, I think I was just speechless. But I just knew from that moment forward, and from working with them on the project and figuring out the concept and how we were going to make it work for that space, that it was going to be a lot bigger than I realized. So it's just crazy to see now all the things that have come from that, because that I never knew. I never expected that to happen. So yeah, it was challenging and it was tough, but I don't regret it at the end of the day. I think it was the best thing for me.
And speaking of challenging and tough, like I remember like when you started on this project, and I get to talk to you in between, you started to go on those big what are they called? Like, it's not a crane, it's a arm. The lift, sorry. Yeah. So you're up on the lift, and like I would, you know, shit my pants if I was up there. Or I would just freeze and just not be able to move.
Right.
So like you doing that already, I was like, holy, like I could never do anything like that. That's somebody that I know that can do that, you know. And you going through it now you were telling me recently that you're like, I can do it. Yeah, I'm used to it. I've done it. Yeah. I've got it down, you know. So that's crazy.
It's funny to see how that changes. I think I knew that I had help around me when I was doing it, but none of us really knew what we were doing because we had never done anything like that before. So it was kind of just like putting a lot of different heads together, whether that was with the Beltline or with the actual assistants who were helping me, or with the crew that the Beltline had that actually set up all this stuff so that we could work on the lifts and everything. But yeah, I think there were so many things that I wish I had known before I had started it. But that does mean that this was a really big lesson for me. So I did learn a lot afterwards. And what really helped me look at it differently was a recent project I had done where I was just assisting, but it was on a parking garage. And that artist was only accustomed to painting at that size. So he was very comfortable with it. And just watching him go through that and just be level-headed and just know what to do and just be super prepared, it made me think, okay, these were ways in which I could have done better on the bridge. But now that I know them, I can continue to do better on future projects.
Yeah. It's just like you said, a learning process, and now you're better prepared. But okay, well, I mean, let's stay on murals for a second. You're currently doing a basketball court, right? Is it in Savannah?
Yeah.
Or where is it?
It's here in Atlanta. It's in Howell Park. I actually just finished it. I finished it not yesterday, but the day before.
Okay.
But yeah, that was on Wednesday. Wednesday was kind of like final touch-ups, just anything that we might have forgotten. It was really exciting because they were also on Tuesday they were laying down the court lines, which I've never seen done before, but is very fascinating. And it was awesome the way that they did it too, because they actually worked the lines around my designs. So I have a lot of figures on the court, and some of the lines go on top of them, some go underneath them. So it's really cool to see how they did it. And then Wednesday they installed the basketball hoops, which I was happy for. I know a lot of kids in the neighborhood were happy for, because they were so excited the whole time, like asking us, oh, like, when are you guys going to be done? And stuff like that. So that was probably the best part. I mean, getting a lot of feedback from the community, because there was an apartment complex and a few houses that were right there. So people telling us really great things, like they loved the colors. They felt seen because they felt like some of the characters looked like them. Seeing how the kids just immediately wanted to play on it, like that's just the greatest feeling.
Yeah. I think that's so rad too, because like instead of it just being on like a digital platform or like somewhere someone could see it on the internet, when you're there in person, or if you're playing on it, or if it's up on a bridge or a wall, it just makes it that area, it just makes that area a totally different area. And it's so cool to do stuff like that. Cause I mean, I've never, obviously never done anything like that, but like, it's just so cool to that form of art that like I would probably never do, but that you do. And I get to see you grow and start doing all these different, like, what's the, there's another one I wanted to bring up, the college. And by the way, everyone, I know I said this in the beginning, but I'll put up, this will be up on YouTube, and then I'll put up pictures. I can't do that right now as we talk. Maybe I can, I'm not technologically advanced on Instagram. But yeah, the college where, I think, yeah, it was more of a wide mural, and was it for Pepsi, or what was it for?
Oh,
what was that?
It was for Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. Okay. Yeah, that one was really cool.
Thank you. That was so fun. That was actually so there's a gallery here in Atlanta called ABV Gallery, which is really big. It's one of the bigger ones that we have, but they also act as kind of like an agency. So when big companies need a muralist, they don't necessarily know who to reach out to. So they reached out to ABV, who suggested me for the project. And really, it was just a tribute to all of Atlanta's HBCUs, because the building that it was on was actually in the middle of all of them, like right across from the AUC library that they have right there. So the real only instruction I was given was just like, they wanted it to be about the students. And just like put the Coke logo in there somewhere, but mainly
throw it in there, yeah.
Right. But they just wanted like, okay, we want Atlanta culture, we want the students, we want that whole feel, the HBCU feel, which was a huge challenge to me, because honestly, I do have a lot of members in my family who attended HBCU, so I know their experience thoroughly, but I myself did not. So it was a lot of research, a lot of talking to different people to see what would be best, how to be most respectful, how to really like convey the lifestyle of the students there. And no, it was awesome. I had such a good time for it. The only thing that made me sad was we did it in December, so none of the students were there because it was winter break. So I never really got to see their reaction when they came back to the school, but I'm hoping they liked it. So
has anyone posted it on Instagram yet, or like, yeah?
They have. A few people had. I had been searching through hashtags for grad photos, because my number one hope was that people would take grad photos like in front of it. But I haven't seen that many. It is kind of difficult though, in general, like just finding photos of my work that other people have taken, just because sometimes people don't always see your tag. So they don't realize like, oh, this is the person who did it, and I'm tagged. Like sometimes they do, but most of the time they don't. So for that reason, I haven't seen that many, but I'm sure people have taken photos and posted them in other places.
I love that one though. I just like I remember when you first sent it to me, or a picture of it. I was just like, whoa, that one's like your choice of colors, and then you have your own style, which is so cool to me. And if you don't mind, can we move to animation real quick? Like I think sorry if my intro is a little bit clunky. I'm still like trying to. The UAP hearing happened, and I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, right.
Which we will get to, everybody. But animation. So the way I found out about you was I love 2D animation, and I've been writing different things for a while that I wanted to be animated, but I've never done anything animated. Other than a few music video things that I didn't direct myself, but for like bands I was in or whatever. But I follow 2D animation on Instagram. I'm always looking at like 2D animation and art, and I saw your clip that you animated of the fight scene, and
right.
When I saw it, I was just so blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, like, is this a new show? Like, I thought it was a new series coming out, and I wanted to see it. And I was like, oh, and I went on there, and like, I think at that time you might have like, whatever, followers or whatever, but you might have had like a really low following count. And I was like, what the heck? What is going on here? Like, this is phenomenal. And I saw that you made it and like all this stuff, and I just had to reach out to you. And now we're working on something together. But just animation. So like, what got you into animation? Because you're so phenomenal at it. To me, you're kind of a mix of Genndy Tartakovsky, who we both love, and and then there's a little kind of like Disney influence, and then I don't know, just your own thing. So like, how did you get into it?
Well, thank you, because first of all, that is a huge compliment to be compared
it's
to
true. No bullshit.
Right. But yeah, I think just being younger and watching, well, we watched a lot of cartoons, but we also watched a lot of anime. Like on Cartoon Network, they had Toonami, which came on at like, what was that, 9 p.m. or something?
Yeah, later.
So we got to watch like all the classics like Naruto, Inuyasha, Bleach, One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, and all of that. And so I think immediately I was just like, wow, I love the big eyes. I love the big hair. I love the drama, like just the intensity of the scenes, especially in anime. Like it's the craziest special effects, 2D effects that are drawn that really, really pulled me in. And I think it was also just the idea of seeing these characters that were super powerful. Because I think when I was younger, I struggled with some self-confidence issues and wasn't great at always speaking up for myself. And when I did, it often came out as like just an angry kind of, burst. So to see these characters who were like so in control of themselves and in their lives and what they did and just be powerful and respected and just overall thriving was just something that I was really, really drawn to. And I just decided I wanted to do the same thing. And I wanted others to have that feeling too when they saw it. And then we also used to go to, this is so random, but we used to go to Barnes & Nobles a lot, like all the time. And we would just buy the art books that they had. So I had a lot of those shoujo drawing books that were like how to draw an anime eye. Right. Like that was like probably my guide for so long, big source of inspiration. Like you said, Genndy and other shows on Cartoon Network, Disney, a lot of that definitely like bits and pieces from that I really liked have formed into the style that I have now and have definitely influenced the way that I animate. And yeah, I think I just always wanted to have some otherworldly scene to create other places that people could see and feel like were real. And then the crazy thing was I knew I wanted to do it having never done it before. Like I had drawn and I had painted, but I'd never animated anything until I got to college. which was terrifying because when I was in class, like I had classmates that already had, so they were already a few steps ahead. And initially I felt like I wouldn't catch up, but I'm trying to wonder what made me change my mind. At some point, I think I had a switch in my head that made me look at it not as defeated, but more inspired. Like, here are these people who have worked so hard for multiple years in their life to be good at this craft, to be great even. And if I want to get to that level, I have to keep practicing. And I shouldn't look at them as competition. I should just look at them as inspiration for how I should conduct myself and to get better. So animation honestly is, and I know we've talked about this like in our Zooms, but animation is like something that still kind of I'm nervous about. And I'm always like, is this good enough? Is this whatever? And in the back of my head, you know, I'm hearing critiques that I think my professors would have said if they had seen it. I'm critiquing myself as well because I feel like we're all our own biggest critics, but I feel like the only way to push forward is to just do it. Like it sucks and it hurts, but like that's the only way that you get better, and then you build that confidence. So yeah. I know I rambled like all over the place.
No, that was perfect. And you said so you in college was the first time you started doing it, and you went to the Savannah Art College. What's it called?
Yeah,
SCAD?
The Savannah College. Yeah, SCAD.
SCAD.
I went to the
Savannah College of Art.
Because there's 3 locations. So there's one here in Atlanta, which is the one that everybody knows. Okay. But the one that I went to was the original in Savannah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I see the comments that are popping up.
And by the way, people, I'm so bad with comments because like I'm like I forget about them sometimes. So I'll try to look down and I'll wave or whatever. But
right.
I'm too into it with Drew. So you learned different programs. I know probably a lot of people aren't familiar with programs that animators use, but animators that are watching this will probably know. But you learned how to use Cartoon Boom and TV Paint, I think, are your main ones you learned. And right now you work with TV Paint mainly?
Yes.
Yeah.
So originally, just so that we understood how difficult it was and just to get the basics, they had us, for people who were doing 2D animation, we did it on paper, like the way that they did it, you know, back in the day where it was, it's called cell animation, and you just flip the paper back and forth to check, and you had to go one by one and take a photo overhead and put it together to do that. So we learned how to do all of that to start, just so we understood what it took to make the films that we watched growing up. And then from that, then we switched into the digital. So I learned Flash, which I think is now called Adobe Animate. Then Toon Boom Harmony, which is nice, but oh my gosh, it's so funny when you talk to other 2D animators, because most people don't like Toon Boom Harmony. Like, it gets the job done, but it's kind of difficult. There are things that shouldn't be as difficult as they are in that program. It's great for puppeting animation though, but for hand-drawn, like actually drawing every frame, it can be a little frustrating, which is probably why TV Paint is my favorite, because it does remind me of that very first exercise where we just drew on paper and flipped, because it's very similar to that, with also a few hacks here and there. I did dabble in 3D for a little bit. So much respect to 3D animators, because I cannot do it. I think I enjoyed the modeling aspect of it more. So I learned softwares like Maya and Cinema 4D, which are really, really incredible when you know what you're doing. But the other thing about those projects or softwares is it requires a certain level of problem solving, because Maya is one of those things where you have to input certain numbers and certain things so it understands what you're trying to do. And if you put, let's say, like one decimal in the wrong spot and you just don't catch it, like the whole thing is broken.
Oh, shit.
And you have to hunt and find it like through the file to see what went wrong. And that was, I'm just used to erasing if something is wrong and then redrawing it. So, but yeah, those were all the softwares that I got to have some experience with.
Cool. And so, I mean, I'll throw up Drew's fight scene and stuff. I mean, obviously we can't talk I don't want, or we won't talk in too much detail of what we're working on, but like just getting to learn about different programs and how you do stuff is so cool. And so again, like just makes you so cool to me, Drew.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to show everyone what we worked on. You've done an amazing job. You're doing an amazing job with everything you're doing. And I think the world is better for art that you're bringing out to, especially art that has meaning, like the Beltline. And I think like what we're doing is just fun and silly, but stuff like that you're doing is so cool. And so much respect to you. So like can we jump to the UAP stuff? Is that cool?
For sure.
So like first of all, like where do you start with this shit? Well, actually, no, okay, let's start here. So do you know anyone, or have you yourself ever seen like a UFO or anything weird in the sky, or like, do you know anybody? Or
I personally have not. I have never seen that. And then other than conversations with you, I haven't had many interactions with others who have had that experience. However, I just feel like this is just my personal opinion, but it was never something that I just thought to myself was impossible, because it just felt like the universe is so big. There's so much that we don't understand now. Like, there's no way that there couldn't be something or something to this, especially when multiple people have similar stories, having never met each other or not even knowing that they experienced that. So it's not surprising to me, even though I haven't had that personal experience.
Okay. Yeah. I've told you about me and Laura's, what we saw, but like, and to me, I forgot about that, and I was never looking at or like people would tell me their shit, like they saw if I met somebody that saw something, and I just kind of be like, oh, okay, cool, man, or whatever, see ya. And then we saw something and I forgot about it, and it's so weird to me that I saw something that I just couldn't explain, and that was so strange. Again, this giant silver sphere that was about the size of a car, just stuck in the air. And then I confirmed it with a family that was walking by. They thought it was weird too, but right after that, didn't think about it. And then in 2017, that New York Times article came out and was talking about pilots seeing it and confirming it, and like the 3 videos. And I was like, okay, that puts a little more weight to it. And I was like, maybe I should just start reading into it, So I started reading into it, and I got into it. And then now from 2017 to where we are now with like the last UAP hearing, like I don't even know what to think anymore. Like I'm just kind of like, like a lot of people are hitting me up now and just asking me like, so what's going on? And I'm like, I could just tell them like, basically like up to this point, like from 2017 to 2023, like what's happened now. But then I'm like, you need to go back and like maybe just kind of look through the history of this, because it gets wilder and wilder. But where are you at? Like where? And it's fine. There's no wrong or right answers. Like just where are you at with all this? Are you just like, it doesn't affect me, or are you just kind of like it's too weird, or where are you at?
Well, the thing is, I'm probably not as worried about it as I should be. I believe it, like we had a whole hearing that was televised and everything. So it's not something that I doubt. It's not something that I feel like it's just people making anything up. My thing is, I do feel like now that we do know that there's proof of this, that we know that there's not just proof of UAPs, but even, I guess, pilots, as they refer to them, that they've found. To me, I just wonder how they must see us. So, for example, like if they look at us, they must have known about us for a while, if they're here and they're visiting or they're doing whatever. So I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. I think I joked about this with you before, but I really do feel like from the perspective of something otherworldly like that, where they've admitted that it's technology that we can't even comprehend, and aren't even close to catching up to, do we look primitive? I think about that all the time. Like maybe we aren't worth the interaction or bothering with other than a regular checkup. But that's just me just blowing it off like that. I do think that I'm not exactly sure how we would prepare for that. I do know that I don't feel in control, and that is like a feeling that I'm getting more and more used to. Like there are just certain things that I will not have power over, and I just have to see how they play out. So I'm not negative about it, but I do think it would benefit us if we were to make contact, if there was to ever be dialogue, for us to understand, okay, we need to realize we are not the bigger dog in this situation. Like we can learn and perhaps find something beneficial from it, but I don't necessarily see it as something where we will just fight until we win. I think that is kind of unrealistic, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. That's all good. Those are all great thoughts. I agree. I just don't know, like, again, this is so weird. It's like, how do you talk about this? And I've been trying to talk about this, since I've been like researching it, but it's like, there's so much to it, and it's so wild. Like, we don't even know if it's quote unquote aliens, like, but the news is all being like, that's the first thing. There's aliens. But the whistleblower, David Charles Grusch, for those of you that don't know, David Charles Grusch is like the main whistleblower, like everyone's kind of like focused on right now. He came forward on June 5th of this year, and then a month later we had a hearing with him. So that's pretty like boom. So something serious right there already showed me that like this is serious. But when you look at David's credentials, I had him up here, so let me just read them to everybody. He's a decorated former combat officer in Afghanistan, a veteran of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, the NGA, and the National Reconnaissance Office, the NRO. He served as the Reconnaissance Office's representative to the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force from 2019 to 2021. From late 2021 to 2022, he was the NGA's co-lead for the UAP analysis and its representative to the task force. Okay, I think I said all that good. So that's who this guy is, okay? So it's not just some weird, crazy guy. This guy is actually, like, I heard that he actually used to give the president daily briefings. So that's wild, all right?
Yeah.
So this guy's coming forward saying there's non-human intelligence, and they've been saying the word extraterrestrial and alien to him, and he keeps, like, making a point to be like, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's a possibility, but I'm just, like, he's calling it, or what he knows that they're calling it, is non-human intelligence. So then that makes it a little bigger too, and a little too crazier for me. And then, like you're saying, like, not the top dog. Like, where are we at in the food chain on this planet? Maybe has this been here forever? Did it come here recently? Which it doesn't seem like, because, again, like there's so many stories with like in religions and stuff that talk about higher beings or whatever. Maybe we were just trying to explain that, like, what these things were. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. So I mean, it's a lot, so it's just hard to, like, I suggest everyone, if you haven't seen the hearing, you can watch it in its entirety. It's on YouTube, or you can check out just clips of it, because I think everyone's posting it right now, like all the major news networks. But pretty much we're going to go through that thing where it's like some people are going to be like laughing, doing the X-Files music. Some people are going to be like, wait, this guy's credentials, and then the other two pilots that testified with him, their credentials are insane.
Right.
What's going on here? Go ahead.
Something that I think has made it a lot more difficult is, like, technology just feels like a double-edged sword, because on one hand, we have more information at everyone's fingertips than we've ever had, but then you have to decide, okay, well, how do I like sift through everything and figure out what is right and what isn't, because everybody has a different opinion and not everything is peer reviewed or researched or anything like that. So I do feel like I think about that often, because I wonder, had this had happened at an earlier time, perhaps sometime last century, I wonder if there would be as much pushback, or if it would just be like, whoa, this is news, this is fact, this is truth now, and now we just have to deal with it. It makes me think of, I cannot remember what it was called, but there was like a radio broadcast. I think it happened, gosh, I could be so off. It could have happened in the 50s or the 40s, perhaps.
Yeah, it's God, was it Orson Welles?
I think
it was one of those guys.
so.
Was it Orson? I might be wrong, everyone. But yeah, they did the aliens were invading, and everyone freaked out because it was just a radio thing.
Mm-hmm. Like people believed it. And I just think that's so fascinating, because now you can't get people to believe anything, even though there's tons of information out there for people to do their own research. And I think that it has created some problems, because now I think that people pick and choose what they want to believe in or what they think is true, because it satisfies however they feel, whatever fear that they might actually have. So it's just interesting to see how our culture has shifted because of technology and how far we've come.
Yeah, and sometimes I wonder too, because like a lot of this stuff with quantum physics and AI that, especially right now, with like the writers and actors strike, and what's going on with AI with that too, and just us getting paid, and like how corporations, we all know like corporations kind of run the world,
right?
And they just treat us all like shit and making billions of dollars, and we're here in I'm in the San Diego area. San Diego and Los Angeles, like a hamburger is like, or a hamburger, whatever burger at like a restaurant's like $18, or $15 to $18. In LA, some places they have burgers for probably like $20-$25. But it's like, what's the minimum wage? Like what, how can a family live off of that or whatever? But these corporations, they just keep taking money from us. But where I was getting to with that is, it seems like everyone's really focused on AI as artificial intelligence. And I'm also wondering if that's a part of all of this too in some way, because it just seems like if think about this, if artificial intelligence becomes sentient, then that's just intelligence. Like you don't have to call it artificial anymore. That's just another intelligence that's smarter than you, and now it can do things. And yeah, super terrifying. That's one of Laura's my wife's biggest fears too, is like Terminator AI taking over. But then my mind starts going down this rabbit hole of like what it could be or what it couldn't be. But a lot of people are gonna, I think, start going through the process right now of like, well, he's got to show me an alien, this Grusch guy, this David Grusch guy. Right. Show me the craft or whatever. And there's a process that's happening right now, because a lot of people don't understand that David already testified and gave testimony to the Inspector General, and there's like 11 and a half hours of documented video and like transcript of him with them, and he gave them documents and then told them people that are still involved in these programs, I guess, of like crashed retrieval UAPs. It just sounds so weird to say out loud. And the Inspector General said that, what did it say? Like his claims are deemed, oh gosh, what was it? It's like credible and urgent. I think those were the two words. Yeah. So the fact that that's going on right now, that's just kind of brings this weight that like hasn't been there before. And like you were saying, I wonder if this would have happened, like you said, a couple of decades ago, or whatever. Like I think it was trying to happen. I think a lot of people, like if you look back through history, I think a lot of people were trying to make it happen, but then like they couldn't. But now it seems like we're here, and I just don't know what the fuck to do about it, Drew.
Yeah. So It looks like we have a question from Laura. She was saying, how do I feel about AI and art? I do want to say, it's so funny because I'm on the same page as her. Like, I'm way more afraid of the potential of AI than I am of any of the stuff that's been coming out about UAPs. But the reason I'm fearful of it is how it will be used and who will be using it. But specifically about AI and art, I have mixed feelings about it. Initially, I was definitely like, this is crazy. I mean, the first couple of programs were stealing art from other people and just like merging it together. And you could actually kind of tell because there would be weird watermarks or things like that were stacked on top of each other. And it's like the artist's signatures that were spliced on top from all of these different references and sources that they had been trying to use to create this image. And so I do think it is frustrating because I think it reaffirms the idea that the art that we make isn't valuable. Because there's a lot of people who look at creatives and they don't look at our work as like worth paying for or not worthy of the price that we've set for it, which is crazy because they also are unable to create that same work, that level of work. So I think it was one of those things that was like, oh, look, now we have this tool, so we don't need you, and we can still do this. I have, at the same time, explored Midjourney, for instance, just seeing like what it is and what types of things that people are making. It's fascinating because you really can see, like, it's the same chat. You can see everybody in there trying to get different ideas for things like advertisements, I guess things for personal use, ideas for what are they called? Not storyboards, but it's gonna come to me. But it's like
like with the landscapes and stuff. What are they? I know what you're saying. Why is my mind blanking? concept art.
Yeah, like concept art and stuff. Right, things like that. So it's interesting. I do think, from what I've heard from a lot of artists say, and I agree, is that I don't think it's quite at a point where it can replace us. Like, while people are using it for things, you can tell, like even in the renderings, that it's close, but it's not quite there. Yeah. There are things that are off. There are things that don't feel as thought out. And I do think that that's something that really does come from human emotion, just understanding people and understanding what makes things feel comforting or what makes things feel scary or what makes things feel this or that. Is like, we have a better idea of how other people will interpret things, I think, at this point than for example, something like Midjourney does. Mm-hmm. So I've also heard artists who are kind of on the side of it because from their perspective, they're saying, well, you know, you can't stop it, so you have to learn how to live with it. And I do understand that perspective, but they, for instance, are then using Midjourney to do things like help them come up with ideas. And while they may not use it exactly, they might say, okay, well, this is a composition that I can think about. This is a color scheme that I can think about. And basically a lot of stuff along those lines. So it's interesting. I don't condemn it. I don't like that it's a bit sneaky. I know there was like a feature on Adobe, I think it was like Photoshop or something, that you actually have to turn off because it automatically checks and gives permission for them to use your artwork. Oh, wow. That you make in Adobe. So people had to point that out. It wasn't something that they just told you in the newest. So yeah.
Talk about corporations again. Like, it's like I mean, we know it's going to get better and better. But like that same thing with the strike right now with the writers and actors, it's like they're saying like for background actors and like mainstream actors, you can like, you know, scan your whole face, your body, and then they can use your likeness however they want in the future. You know? Yeah,
like, that's horrible. I don't like that.
Well, that's why we need, like you're saying, like it's not there yet, but it's gonna be there soon because technology is like woo, it's just like growing faster than anything. So it's like we do need regulations on this, and that's why it's such a momentous, like this moment right now. it's not all for just actors and writers, everybody. It's for all the creatives, all the artists out there. Like this strike that's going on right now, not just like disclosure happening with the UAPs. It all kind of like what disclosure is, I think, is just all of us being lied to and taken advantage of. And there's a real truth out there. And like, we should all, kind of push for this transparency, this truth, and also regulation on AI, because we don't know where it's going. It's almost like not having regulations on nuclear energy or like nuclear power. It's like this momentous this gigantic, powerful thing that can destroy humanity or like help us. It's like we don't even. It's too powerful for us already. So like that's where AI is going to go. It's too powerful for us. It's like it's too crazy. So we need to regulate it. Or else artists like you, I don't know. Like I'm fighting for you, but like I don't know like what AI will do with it. So
right. There's a couple things about that it's like 3 points that I'm going to try to connect together. So I hope they make sense. But one, I was watching this show that it's new. It's called Class of '09. I don't know what channel it's on, but I saw it on Hulu. But it's basically it's like 3 points in time of a class of graduates for the FBI. So they graduated in 2009, so that's the past. And then they have the present, like 2023, and then they have the future, which is like 10 years from now. And it's basically showing the advancement of AI and how the Bureau has used it to like catch people and get better at solving cases. And then obviously it gets out of control and now they don't know what they're doing like in the show. But there was this concept that I had heard about. I cannot remember the name, but it was basically an idea that sometimes there is information that is given to us in TV shows in particular, maybe movies, but from what I've seen, most examples are in TV shows where they actually do tell you a little bit of truth, but they kind of wrap it up to make it seem like, oh, but this is just a show, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting because right after I finished this show, I was watching a video that I had sent you that was about new developments in AI technology. And so this is really creepy. For everybody who's in the live, I'll tell you, but they did like 3 tests essentially. So they had a set of volunteers and essentially throughout this test, they were monitoring their brain activity while they were doing certain things. So for the first test, people were looking at a picture of a giraffe. So it just captured the brain activity in their head, and then they gave it to the AI so it could kind of decipher or figure out what was going on. So it didn't have that image. It didn't have anything to go off of, but that video footage, right, of the activity. And it just said, okay, can you tell us what this person is looking at? So it reconstructed its own image. The person was looking at a giraffe, so it made an image of a giraffe.
And the giraffe looked like you were saying, like Mid-Journey or something. It looked like a Mid-Journey giraffe, but you still know it's a fucking giraffe. Like you look at it and you're like, so sorry, keep going. I was just like, what?
No.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then the second test was, okay, well, can it decipher our actual thoughts, like the inner monologue that we have in our heads? And so these people were then shown an animated video of some stuff happening. It was like a woman who, she gets hit in the back, she falls over. It was only like 5 seconds. And they were told to just think in their heads, like, oh, what do you think is happening? Because there was no sound, no dialogue or anything. And then from that same like brain activity that was given to this machine, it wrote out what it thought the person was thinking. And the text was something like, I see a woman who looks like me, who gets hit in the back and is knocked down. And it was just crazy because it's like, okay, now they can see and decipher our thoughts. They actually know, one, they can tell what we're looking at, they can tell what we're thinking.
Yeah.
So both of those things were terrifying. And then I think the scariest thing from that was it was talking about this machine being able to use certain signals, signal waves, like for example, from like a Wi-Fi router. using those signal waves to be able to tell where people are, you know, in a room, and even as much detail as what position they're in, what they might be doing. So they had a camera that was live, not live feed, but taking photos or snapshots of people at 3 different times. The machine was only given the signals to go off of. It was able to make basically what would have been identical images of these people in the room doing different things, and not like a picture, but almost kind of like, I guess it reminds me of Maya, like when you're modeling stuff in that software, and everything is like gray and the object is like a light gray. That's kind of what it looks like. But the only thing that's comforting about that was that there was some talk about, okay, well, yes, this is possible now, but it means that somebody would have to be able to hack into your Wi-Fi router. At the same time, it's still scary. Like it's still like.
You just saying that, Drew, like the Wi-Fi router. I remember Jon Stewart of The Daily Show, and now he has The Problem, which if you guys haven't checked out The Problem, it is amazing. Jon Stewart's is a stand-up comedian. He's done it for years. He used to have this political comedy show, and now his new show, The Problem, is not as much comedy, but it's more like he just talks about issues that are going on today. But where was I going with that? You were talking about. I was just bringing up Jon Stewart trying to do his bio, and then I just lost where I was going with that. But you were just talking about the thought thing, the Wi-Fi. That's what it was. Sorry, my train of thought. So the Wi-Fi. So he went on this whole thing. I think it was The Problem about internet companies and how they're almost like mafias that control parts of the U.S. You know, like and how much information they have, how much stuff they like. How much control they have of us, and like imagine if they go out right now, like whatever internet company like you have, like how many millions of people would be, you know, but like again, corporations, like what power have we given these corporations? What information do they have? Can our Wi-Fi routers from, you know, people, I'm not getting all conspiracy theory. I'm just saying I don't know, but like what Drew was just saying with this video that I've seen that she sent me that she was talking about, like what if they can do more with those things than we even know? Like I'm not talking about like, yeah, it might give us cancer, all that stuff, like whatever. Like that's probably real too, but I don't know. But there just hasn't been enough research into it. But we're all just like, okay, you know, we all need internet. We gotta, you know, communicate with each other. I want to talk to my family. I want to talk to my friends. You know, what's this Apple user agreement?
Yeah, it's in the fine print. It's like, oh my gosh.
There's a new Black Mirror, I think, about that. Like, like you accepted the agreement, you know. So like. Yeah,
it's so random. Not to get too off topic. It is so crazy the way that Netflix uses this show to I feel like bring up not just super relevant issues that we're facing right now, but even things that they themselves have messed up on, which is very. I want to know why. I mean, like, is this like an admission of, I don't know, maybe guilt or responsibility, I guess. But it's just interesting that they would create in this show a fictional streaming service that is basically them. That is then the center of all of the exploitation that's happening to these different people. So
yeah, and I hope it's one of those, like, but I think like a guilt or responsibility, but I wonder if it's also kind of like, yeah, we can fucking do this. What are you gonna do? This is what we do.
Yeah.
And it's
no one's gonna stop me.
Yeah. Try to take me to court. Go for it.
Right.
But like
honestly. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to.
No. You go ahead. What were you saying?
I didn't know about that. Like, I didn't know about people being able to sign their likeness to be used by that technology until that Black Mirror episode. I just thought that was just like, oh, that's just them thinking.
That's
I didn't know that.
The biggest thing that's going on right now too, and especially with writers. Like, you know, I've been writing since, you know, elementary school, and I've never tried to put anything out publicly. Really, just, you know, I am now. That's what I'm working towards. But like, I've been writing forever, and like thinking about that, like, oh, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of young writers too that look at AI or like ChatGPT or, whatever it is, Bard or whatever these new things are to come out, and they're just like, oh, why am I chasing being a writer if like something can like, take Orson Welles and take like, whoever it is, like all these different authors. I'm not going to go through it, but just take all these people and then write this story in their voice, and it has to be about this and this, and it comes out and everyone's like, wow, that's good. That's going to happen for books. That's going to happen for scripts. That's going to happen. Like, that is what we're headed for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why this is such a big deal, because especially like when, like Laura asked you about what you think about AI art and how it affects artists. It's like, I remember, because I follow a lot of artists. I love artists. I love illustrators. I have some people I've worked with over the years. I think artists and illustrators are just, they're the shit, and I want to help all of you as much as I can. But I remember just seeing the flood on Instagram when it first came out, just like the crossed out AI and all the artists being like, yo, this is gonna, and then I know friends and stuff in the film industries too that they just use Midjourney now for concept art. So like that means the whole concept artist thing is like gone, pretty much. And then that's how it's going to be for almost everything. And it's so just like everybody, you got to understand how real this is, especially for stuff you love and art. That if you want to say like, if we do have a soul, if we do have a spirit, if we do have free will and choice, then that's what a true artist puts out into the world. So if you still want that, like if you still want that with music, if you still want that with writing, if you want that with art, you all got to like speak up about this. We all got to like take this seriously, So sorry about that rant, but that's what's...
No, it's definitely valid. I think the crazy thing about this is, I think the people that really buy into it and use it all the time don't understand that they will be next, because this comes in. I mean, it's starting with us. It's starting with creatives and things in that realm, but there's no telling where it will go. And I feel like people are, in typical fashion, are thinking about like the short term instead of the long term. So I really hope that we won't get to a place where we can't go back. But I think it's just the product of being, I don't want to say in a world, because I'm like, I don't think the whole world is like this. I definitely feel like North America is like this, but or the United States really, but just being so much about the individual that you don't really think about everybody else and the ramifications of this stuff. So
I mean, even when I talk to people about climate change, like, regardless of your thoughts on climate change, I mean, not you, but everybody, I like, scientists can tell us over and over for decades, but like, I'll talk to people and they'll just be like, I'm fine. It was nice here or whatever today. And I'm like, okay, what about the super poor person or child in whatever country that doesn't have the air conditioning you have, doesn't have the walls that you have, doesn't have the roof that you have, doesn't have the food that you have, doesn't have the water that you have? Oh yeah, climate change is nothing, right? Shut the fuck up. Get out of here. Like, no. Yeah, because it doesn't affect you and your air conditioning home. Shut the fuck up. Get out of here. Like, there's other people here on this world, and like, we need to take care of each other. And that's the other thing with AI too. If AI is going to take away all of our jobs, then we need universal income. I already think we need universal income, because, I mean, me and Laura yesterday, we were at a brewery and we saw this vet with no legs in a wheelchair. The guy was like probably homeless. I'm guessing he was homeless, but he looked messed up. And I was just thinking about like, man, it's so crazy. We send these people off to war. They get so fucked up. And then as soon as they get back, it's like, fuck you, dude. Go deal with your medical bills. And there'll be some people that'll be like, like, oh, we take care of them. You get that $5 discount at Denny's or whatever the hell it is. Like, or on a haircut or something. Like, no, like, and again, like, I'm not for war, I'm against war, but like, I really support, like, I know these people are protecting us and going out to do, and they just want to, there's so many good men and women, just in military, and I'm not, I'm not for war, but obviously we need people to protect us. But like, I can't believe that. I can't believe how we treat them, and I can't believe, I brought up Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart has a great episode on The Problem. If you guys want to check it out, I'll probably put a link to it. But like, just talking about like the burn pits. They have these burn pits in like the Middle East that were left over from, I think like the Iraq War, the war in Afghanistan, like all these like areas have these giant pits where they just burn all the shit where our U.S. military is like set up, because they don't have anywhere to trash this stuff. So they just dig this whole desert pit, they throw all their shit in there, and then they just burn it to get rid of it. And a lot of these soldiers now and these vets have like lung cancer, and they have all these like awful diseases, and our government's like, you deal with it,
Right. Yeah.
And it's just, to me, that's just terrible. I'm sorry I'm going on a rant with that too, but I wanted to just I'll stop there. But like, if you guys want to check that out, check it out. But it's awful. I think we should take care of our veterans. I think we should take care of each other,
Yeah.
And with AI, if AI is putting us out of work, then we need the government to start giving us a check every fucking month, because people need to take care of their kids. People need to take care of their families. We need to pay our rent. We need to eat,
Right.
So.
No, what you're saying, honestly, this is so crazy, because it's similar to recent thoughts that I've been having lately, specifically about our country and the direction that we're heading. But I say this jokingly, but I'm a little bit serious. I am considering, like, I wonder what it would be like to be an expatriate, to just move somewhere else.
Expat. Yeah.
I do think that the United States, they look at, if you're not rich, like a billionaire, I do think they look at us as disposable. So it's like, it doesn't matter if you are giving your life in service to the country or whatever you're doing. It's like, okay, well, that's what we expected you to do, and we can replace you as soon as you become an issue.
Yeah.
And this is not true for everywhere, but I do feel like there are certain countries that do see the value in their people and actually have a system that works to everybody's benefit. So I've been thinking about that a lot, like just listening to podcasts where people are talking about their experience solo traveling or living outside of the States for a number of years. I've been watching vlogs and reading different articles about people's experience, particularly for women of color, because I'm like, well, if I do this, I want to know what their experience was like. But it's becoming more appealing every day. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I would ever get to that point or when that would happen, but it's just, you want to be somewhere that you feel like you feel safe in. And forbid, like, maybe you even want to start a family. It's like, how could I even consider doing something like that where we currently are? Like, there are so many issues that I now have to figure out how to protect them from.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It gets pretty crazy.
No, for sure. And I'll never know how to relate to that, especially as a woman or a woman of color. Like, or, I know that, I can't, but I can try to just help, like, be an ally in any way I can.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a white guy named Chad from San Diego saying bro. Saying bro and dude. Like I remember when I first I went to England. I remember I was touring with this band, and they were making fun of my accent, and I thought it was so funny because I thought they had a thick accent. But they're like, "Hey, dude," and they kept saying "dude" like and I was like, "Oh, this is awful." But they sounded a little more like Keanu Reeves or something. But yeah.
Right.
Anyway, I think I just want us all to take care of each other, and the UAP thing. Tom DeLonge said something. Tom DeLonge, if you guys don't know, you live in a cave. No, just kidding. He's the singer of one of the singers and guitar players for Blink-182, but he's one of the people that brought a lot of this to attention, like the UAP stuff. His company To the Stars, they brought for the 3 UAP videos that came out in 2017 that I think Christopher Mellon, which was the former Secretary of Defense, I think Assistant to Secretary of Defense. I always get his shit. I'll put it up. I always get it wrong. I should know it by heart, but I'm not perfect. Well, anyways, Tom DeLonge said that UAP and UFO and the knowledge of that is the one thing he thinks will bring us all together. And then I thought about that a lot, and I was like, what does he mean by that? Like, how would that even happen? And then I brought this up before, but I just think that, like, when people realize that maybe there's something that's more intelligent than us, more technologically advanced than us in, all different ways, like, what does that do to the average person's thought process, or how they see themselves in the world, or how they look at other people? So, like, are we all going to start looking at each other more? Once you have that realization, even if it's a slow, like, realization, even like the craziest, like, racist dude that wears like Confederate flag shirts or whatever, like, what if there's this kind of like realization that, oh, we're all the same because there's this other. We're all the same. Or like, what have I been wasting my time on? Like, what? Like,
right.
this man wants to kiss another man. This woman wants to marry another woman.
Yeah.
And I was trying to stop that. There's this thing with, like, I don't know, whatever sex organs, or like whoever cares, like whatever. They don't have our religions. They're smarter than us. Like, we're like what is all this shit we're bickering about? What does it mean? None of this shit means anything. Let's take care of each other and let's figure out this. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's so funny. That's well, I'm sure, because we've talked about it before, but that's like exactly the plot line for Watchmen, where it's like, oh, there's something bigger that clearly is more of a problem right now than what we're currently doing. So
Watchmen's so good. Watchmen's so good.
Love that. I mean, loves the comics.
The comics.
The comics is so good. Loves the TV series. The movie was questionable, but they tried their best.
Yeah.
So I won't be too harsh with them.
Yeah, the series was great. A lot of people found out about the Tulsa Massacre from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Right? Is that what it's called? The Tulsa Massacre?
Mm-hmm.
It's just called. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was crazy.
There's my memory. Yeah, it was cool.
No, it's wild to learn different things through shows.
Yeah.
Because they're what we should have learned in school. But like, it's just not.
Okay.
It's crazy, like how our education system is not fair, and not everybody gets the same level of knowledge, and how things are specifically omitted. So it's hard to hear, but I get it. Like, I understand how that can be somebody's first time, like, knowing about it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's a lot of things in our history. I mean, I didn't find out about the Japanese internment camps until I got out of high school. I didn't find out about a lot of what happened with, indigenous people and Native Americans to North America too, and Central America, South America. Like, I didn't understand it in the entirety until I was, in college, and like, that's it. Like, I was like, wow, I should have been taught this, way younger. And now we have people trying to make laws where you can't be taught it younger. You can't be taught any of this as a kid.
Absolutely insane. And for what reason? if you really think about it, I think the excuse of hearing like, oh, well, there are certain topics that are too sensitive. It's just bull. It's just not valid at all, because if you really think about that, you can like easily deconstruct that argument. Like, children of color, any kind of minority, really, from a young age, you're exposed to that. And most of us, I'm going to say, have turned out fine, but we just have a different understanding of the world. Mm-hmm. So for people to say, oh, this is harmful for you to know this is whatever, it's like, we are proof that it isn't. Like, in fact, if everybody knew it, we would have less issues, less misunderstandings and miscommunication. So it's, that kills me every time I hear that. Like, oh, it's too grown up, it's too explicit, it's too whatever. And it's like, if I can experience my first experience with any kind of bigotry, prejudice, racism at like 5 years old, then your child can learn it at 12. Like it's not the biggest deal for them to understand what others are going through. So
yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think it should be taught to all of us. I think we should know where we can make better decisions. If you know your history, you know how to make better decisions. But again, like history is written by the rulers, or written by the, what was it? History is written by the,
like the winners.
Yeah. What's the thing? But which weirds me out too, because that's a whole nother thing we don't have to get into. But like, I think I know it's a big part of this whole disclosure thing. This big thing is the Roman Catholic Church, because I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories or anything, people. But if I talk to anyone, if they're like, even like, I have family that's super Christian, or I have people that I have friends with that are atheists and whatever. If I talk to either of them, I go, hey, the Vatican and the Vatican archives, which the Vatican, how long has the Vatican been around? But the Vatican owns so much of our history that is our world history, y'all. Our world history.
Yeah.
The Vatican owns, and we've only seen what is estimated to like 10% of it. There's 53 miles of shelving down there. We're talking artifacts, scrolls, all this different stuff from different places around the world that was brought to this one library that you can't see, because to them, that's God's sacred information. Cool. Mm-hmm. Thank you, even though I'm a white man named Chad, thank you, white dude, European dude, for deciding that for all of us in the whole world. Like,
right.
And it's 2023. What are we doing about it?
No, yeah.
Like,
for sure. I will say that's probably one of the things that I did really like about my high school. This is so counterintuitive, but as I've told you before, like my high school was a very conservative, it was a private Christian school. It still is. But even though we did have courses on the Bible in, curriculum to study what it means and how to interpret it and stuff, in our history classes, our teachers were very, very forthcoming about saying, at different times, this was translated differently. This was left out. This was said a certain way, so that the public wouldn't be able to decide for themselves what was true. Mm-hmm. Basically, like the church was able to push whatever agenda that they wanted. So I really appreciated that, because it drives me crazy, whenever you do get into, I try to avoid them, but whenever you do get into those debates, with people who do have a strong faith but aren't that open to listening to other opinions, it drives me crazy that there's no acknowledgement that there is proof of things being changed in the past, things being rewritten, certain things being left out. I just feel like once you get to that point with a certain type of person, it's almost like there's no point in using logic at all to understand. It's just like, well, I just want to yell and I just want to say that I'm right and this is what I think, and I need you to think the same way. Mm-hmm. And by the way, me saying this for everyone in the live, this is no disrespect to anybody with any kind of faith. I respect anyone's own personal beliefs. Mm-hmm. I don't have any opinion. I would never sit up and say that someone is wrong or right. For me, I want that same respect to be given to everybody, regardless of their faith or if they don't have a faith at all. Like, I don't understand why that's something that suddenly you put your entire judgment of a person based on what they believe or what they don't believe in. So
and I think that's a great way to put it, Drew. I think that's awesome. Mm-hmm. I think I agree with you, and I've said it before on the show, but like, I'm fine with people believing stuff, but once you make it law for somebody else, right, or once it starts affecting somebody else's life, like once you make a mob mentality to go stop someone else from like living their life, like if someone's not like, okay, if you want to play Handmaid's Tale in your neighborhood with your family or whatever, and you want to say praise be and like do all your little rituals and all that stuff, like go for it. I'm cool with that. Go for it. I'm not in your house.
Right.
I'm not dealing with you. Like, I'm sorry for your children, but no, I'm just, but like and your wife. But I'm just saying, like, or your wives, I don't know how, whatever they do. But I'm just saying, like, once you start making that decision for all of us, which, wink, wink, Supreme Court, you know, like, no, that doesn't work. That's not, I didn't sign up for that. I didn't vote for that. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. Like, if you're some type of religion that's making laws for people that aren't your religion, and then that's when it gets fucked up, and that's where we're at right now. That's where we're at right now in the U.S. in 2023. What the fuck is happening? So, like, that's to me is just as wild as you telling me there's some non-human intelligence here. I can't believe that there's a Supreme Court making decisions about women's bodies, LGBTQ people, like all of us that like don't care about your belief. Like, I'm plant-based. I'm not, like, if there was a law for people to be plant-based, obviously more people would be plant-based. But like, I'm not at the point where I'm like trying to make that decision for everyone else. Mm-hmm. Like, I wouldn't, and I can't see that, like, it's so weird to me. Sorry. I'm just, again,
no.
We're going to keep apologizing to each other.
Right. For me, the thing that really gets to me is the fact that, speaking of the Supreme Court, that it's just like a lifelong term, which doesn't make sense to me, because then you have to rely on the individual morals of these people to remain unbiased and to actually make a decision that benefits most people. But because they don't have anything that's going to like stop them from what they're doing, they don't have the normal concerns of other politicians that, because they know they could be voted out. They know that they need to appeal to their supporters. Mm-hmm. They don't have to do any of that. So there's nothing that's holding them to what the people actually want. At this point, you can't say that what they're doing isn't biased. It's like extremely biased. Mm-hmm. And they have so much power. It just doesn't make sense, especially if this is supposed to be a democracy. Yeah. And it's like clearly not, but yeah, no, it's.
And I think the best way to like make change too right now, besides voting, but some people are against voting because they don't think their needs or they don't think it does anything. But like, I think that, but also just talking to each other about it. I know it's hard to talk to about it. I know it's hard to have, and someone might yell and someone might but we need to talk to each other about this. And like, I'm sure there's things you think that I don't agree with, but like, we do agree on a lot of stuff. Yeah. I mean, we've been friends for a while, but like, it's cool. Like, I know people that I totally disagree with them on stuff, and I think we should all be just able to talk to each other about it and learn from each other. But let's take care of each other. Like, let's take care of each other. And taking care of each other, I don't think is laws that make it like for, humans should be able to do what they want with their own bodies. Humans should be able to love. We should all be able to love who we want to love. Like, and even with the drug stuff, like you were talking earlier about like countries that have different laws and stuff about stuff. Like the U.S. in particular, with like even just like cannabis laws, like it's so against black and brown people. It's like, that's how it started. And today it's 2023 and there's states where cannabis is not legal. And here I'm in California, I can go out and smoke a joint and like, hey, how's it going? There's a black and brown or brown person in prison right now for that same joint that I'm smoking here in California, or like wherever. And it's just like, it's so weird to know that we're in 2023 and that's still happening. Like, it's just like, I thought we'd be further than that when I was even a teenager or whatever. But like, anyway. We're like, bye on that note. Bye, everybody. No. See you later.
I'm like, that's a wrap. No, It is really disheartening. It really does not make sense for states who've legalized it to still have people in jail. Part of me also wonders if something of that has to do with the 13th Amendment, with like, like slavery being legal, I guess, if you're in the prison system. So I wonder.
Watch that
'cause you do hear about
documentary. Everybody,
Right?
watch the documentary. The 13th. Yeah.
So good, so good. It's like Ava DuVernay. I think that's her last name.
I'll put a link to it. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Right, but yeah. No, you're good. I just think that part of that is like, well, no, we need them. We need them for this, and that's why they aren't released. But
awful.
It's not fair. I mean, I feel like everything isn't fair nowadays, but
yeah.
No, it hurts when you think about it. So
yeah. I mean, I can't relate, but I just, I can talk about it and understand it and just try to be an ally in whatever way. And I know that, there needs to be forgiveness for certain people too, because like I came heavily out of Christianity and there's a lot of stuff and things I thought that like, I don't think now. And It's so weird. Like even 5 years ago, like again, like the UAP thing, I could give a shit about, but like now I'm like, oh, I totally like something's here and I want to hopefully help the world with it. And then people understand that something's really happening. Maybe it'll bring us together. But like, there's certain things that how people are brought up that, if they do make a change, if they do start to understand that this shit affects other people in a negative way and they do change, like there should be forgiveness. And I'm trying to do that myself with like when I talk to people that are still like, there's no racism in America. I'm like, whew, gotta take a deep breath. And I'm like, okay, just talk to them with love and try to bring up certain things. Like, where do you get your information from? Oh, okay. And then like, but there's the first thing it seems like today, first thing everyone wants to do is fight about it or just like, fuck you, your opinion sucks. Or like, what, you think there's no racism in America? You're a racist. I don't want to fucking talk to you. Get the hell out of here. Like, I think it's super hard, but I think the only way to get through to those people is if you like have compassion, actually talk to them and give them information, because, it's just, there needs to be a way to bridge this gap with certain people. Some people, there's no way you can. And, their mind's made up. But, like, there's so many issues that we all just need to be talking about and that are real that we need to bring up and talk about with each other and try to figure it out all together as a human community that takes care of each other. And, we're not separate. All of us are not separate. Yeah. We've divided it ourselves. We've said us and them this whole time, but we're all part of the same family. And we need to help each other out. So that's, again, I need to shut up. Sorry. I just keep going.
Agreed. All points agreed, Oh my God.
Drew, is there what are you up to? I know we're over an hour. We're an hour and a half now. So like, I can let you go. What are you up to right now besides we're working on something together? I'm so stoked. Again, I can't wait to show everybody that eventually we will. Drew,
it's coming along.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. So excited about it. By the way, I thank you for the praise and the kind thoughts from you. But I was going to say you are a phenomenal writer because, you can animate something, but it can still be terrible if the writing is not great. So,
Thank you.
I mean, like, I don't meet many people. I mean, seriously, like, it is very rare to meet somebody who has an idea for the project, and I can tell from the jump that it's very well thought out, and a lot of care has been put into it, and you understand how people would interpret it. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's probably one of the biggest hurdles about writing is, will people understand the feeling that I'm trying to convey? But, and I think that your work hits it every time. So it's been it's easy to work with you and to work with Laura because you have a vision and you know how to execute it. But then you're also very open to suggestions. Not that you ever need any, but
And I love your suggestions, so thank you.
Right. But sorry, I said all that. Oh, right. What am I doing?
Thank you, though. Thank you. So.
Yeah, of course. So I just finished the court. I think I will be in the Drink and Doodle at ABV Gallery next month. So 12 local artists creating art that's all 8 by 10 inches that goes for auction as soon as the event starts. It's like from 6 to 10 p.m. It's a 24-hour auction.
Wow.
I just did one with them recently that I posted on my page. But this next one I think is supposed to be special. I think because there's a sponsorship from a local business. So I'm still waiting to receive some details about that.
Okay.
This is so this is going to sound so vague. There are other projects that can happen, but they're just kind of still being discussed.
Okay.
And some of them are things that I kind of have experience with. And the person who has reached out also kind of has experience, but we really need like a third party to help us figure out how to execute it, because there are things that I have not ever had to do before. Like, for example, like if we're talking about a mural, like landscaping, like how much does this cost to remove certain things?
Oh, I got you.
To get this out the way and stuff. So, so that is going on. And then, yeah, I've just been applying to different things, different festivals, different mural calls, different art shows. So the deadlines for those are still a little bit ways away. So I have to wait and see what they have or what they're going to say if I get accepted or not. But right now I'm kind of just coasting, which is nice. It's nice to kind of relax a little bit because the last couple of months were crazy and I felt like I never got any breaks. So, but yeah, I'm trying to relax and recharge, but still be vigilant. So,
well, I'll put up links to you, your site, stuff you've done. I'm going to put up links to the whole thing, everything we talked about. Thank you so much for doing this today. I'll talk to you soon because we're still working together.
right.
But everyone, go check out Drew. Go follow her on Instagram if you haven't. Check out her work. She's great. She's a great person. Thank you so much, Drew, for coming on today. I won't take up any more of your time, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
All right, Drew.
Bye.
Bye. All right.